If you're looking to buy a stacked NBA 2K account with max badges and more, visit sportstmb.com. He has been in the community for years and has hundreds of reviews. Click the first link in the description to get your account today.
So yesterday, a clip came out from Bill Simmons' podcast where he had Kevin Garnett on, as well as Adam Sandler. I think they were there to promote a movie. But on that podcast, KG did what he does best, and he talked some shit. But this time, there was no logic behind the shit that he talked. Of course, he did what everyone from that team seems to do, and he talked about the '08 Celtics, but most notably, he talked about the run-ins that the Celtics had with LeBron James. Specifically talking about their Eastern Conference Finals matchup in 2010 and what happened in 2012 when the Celtics almost beat the Heat. Here's what he said.
Celtics win in Miami, and they're talking all kinds of shit to LeBron. All kinds of shit that whole game. Correct or incorrect? You're trying to get in his head. You feel like you can break LeBron at this point?
We broke LeBron.
In game 5.
So get your ass out of here with that, all right? You understand how you got the Cleveland, how you got the Miami, Bill? You remember
That's
that?
true. You broke him in
Okay,
2010.
so remember that, all right?
Fair
so
enough.
Stop bringing that up, all right?
Fair enough.
So they was talking shit to him, okay? The media and the league knew that they had an agenda in which we wasn't part of the agenda. You understand? Right. And that's how they ended up winning that series. Yeah, I said it. Man, listen, let me say something to you. The C's, we didn't give a fuck about LeBron. We didn't fear LeBron, and we didn't think that he can beat all 5 of us.
Now, there's a lot of problems with what Garnett said here, but I'm really only going to use this as a vessel to, 1, make a video that I have wanted to make for a very long time, and 2, hopefully get some damn views. Because for a while now, I have wanted to make a video on why I felt the '08 Celtics were an overrated team and how just annoying some of their players have been after the fact. So let's address KG's comments and talk about why I feel the Big 3 Boston Celtics are one of the most overrated teams ever. Alright, so to address this, it was the league's agenda bullshit that Kevin Garnett said about the 2012 playoffs, specifically referring to Game 6. Seriously, dude? What the fuck are you even talking about? What agenda? LeBron James had one of the greatest playoff performances of all time in Game 6 of that series. Did the league's agenda make LeBron score 45 points while grabbing 15 rebounds? Did the league's agenda make him shoot 73%? Did that agenda make you shoot 6 for 15 and only grab 5 rebounds? That is a stupid, stupid comment. Later on this podcast, he talks about a mutual respect while not liking each other with these two teams, but if you had any respect for your opponent, you wouldn't make up some bullshit excuses and just note of the fact that you were outplayed. Rather than respecting the fact that his opponent bested him, he made up some contrived bullshit that made no sense.
We broke LeBron.
In game 5.
So get your ass out of here with that, all right? You understand how you got the Cleveland, how you got the Miami, Bill? You remember
That's
that?
true. You broke them in
Okay,
2010.
so remember that, all right?
Fair
so
enough.
Stop bringing that up, all right?
If we could talk about the notion that the Celtics were the reason that LeBron left the Cavaliers for the Miami Heat, that opinion isn't nearly as ridiculous. It definitely has some ground in reality, but I'm gonna have to go with a hard disagree here. The Celtics beating the Cavs in the 2010 playoffs was just the nail in the coffin that ended LeBron's first stint in Cleveland. That series was just a symptom of an overall problem that was going on with that franchise. That series pretty much just exemplified everything that was wrong with that Cavs team, and it did help him make his decision to go to the Miami Heat. LeBron averaged 27 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and a block in that series, but with a 37-year-old Shaquille O'Neal being the second best player for the Cavs versus the Celtics, that shit was hopeless. The fact that the Celtics lost 2 games in this series to pretty much just LeBron James should not be a point of pride for them, it should be a bit of a point of shame. If anything, that just exemplifies how damn good LeBron James was back then and still is. I think the most blatant way of describing this situation came directly from KG's mouth. He said he knew they couldn't beat all 5 of them. Well, no shit, dude. Congratulations on not being what? The 2018 Toronto Raptors? Big deal. Not getting beaten by one dude, that's a hell of a feat. The reason LeBron seemed defeated in that series was the realization that the horrible situation he was in was going nowhere. Not the Celtics getting in his head or some shit. That was all a build-up that the Celtics just so happened to be there for the climax for. So I guess you could say the Celtics were just the money shot. And then finally, Kevin Garnett was being pretty condescending about how LeBron went to Miami, basically just saying that he gave up and went to a super team because the Celtics broke him. My question for that is, does he not remember how he got to Boston in the first place? He was traded, but he had a no-trade clause. He could have stayed in Minnesota if he felt like it. But instead, he left a poverty franchise to team up with some all-star caliber players and eventually win a championship. It is the same shit that LeBron did. If anyone should be feeling sympathy for the situation LeBron was in, it would have been Kevin Garnett, because he very much lived the same experience, but instead he talks shit like he didn't do the exact same thing. It's incredibly hypocritical. Now don't take this as me criticizing Kevin Garnett for leaving. I think he should have left, and I'm glad he did. He consistently met teams in the playoffs where he was the best player on the court, but the team the Wolves faced was just way deeper, and ultimately it led to failure. He had every reason to leave. I just think it's very stupid of him to talk shit about that like that wasn't a move he made himself. There you go for all the idiots who keep calling me a LeBron James hater. I just spent 5 minutes defending your king. But moving on past Kevin Garnett's comments that will have been out for like 2 days now when this video goes up, I have always felt that the 08 Celtics team and the core that would go on from there was really overrated. And that this team is kind of just fucking annoying in general, because they did something pretty damn simple and yet they talk shit like they were the greatest team of all time. They were not. Not even close, actually. If we go back and look at the last 20 or so title teams, in terms of impressiveness, I would put the Celtics title towards the bottom of that list. But even if that wasn't the case, it was just one championship. But when you hear Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Kendrick Perkins, who are all now fairly prominent in the media, talk about that team, it seems like they have pretty massive egos about it. They really talk like this was a dynasty team. You won one championship. Let's start with this team at its peak, and that was in its first year. The classic MCW. I have no intentions of taking away from the 08 title. I don't think it was particularly impressive, but it was still a good championship run. It wasn't a cakewalk by any stretch. The Lakers gave them a very good fight, but this was a team that was only formed fully for 27 games during the regular season, because people seem to forget that the Lakers traded for Gasol at the deadline, so that team didn't have its chemistry down packed. I know the argument in reply to that would be that the Celtics were only together for 1 year, but there's a lot to be said for having been in a training camp together. That's something you hear about a lot with a player in the following season after they were traded to a team mid-season. It's actually fairly common to see a player do better in their second season with a team after a trade because they weren't thrown into a new system mid-season. Blake Griffin on the Pistons is the latest example of that. And then for the Celtics competition in the East, they for some reason had a 7-game series in the first round versus the 37-win 8th-seeded Atlanta Hawks, meaning they nearly lost a 1-8 matchup. But they came alive and dominated Game 7, where they won by 34, holding the Hawks to just 65 points. But then in the next round, they had the Cavs, which again, as a good team, you should be able to pass LeBron by himself. Then in the conference finals, they easily dispatched what was left of that 04 Pistons team, who we're going to talk about later. But again, this title was solid. Not a standout, but also not easy. People treat it like it was a standout, but I would argue it was because of 2 factors. 1, it was the Celtics. It's the first championship that they had won in 20 years. And 2, it was the first time that we'd seen a real team up like this. Super teams had existed in the past before, but they had never been brought together quite like this Celtics team was. So it was significant. It was, rather than an organic build-up, it was like an Avengers Assemble type of thing. I would argue in terms of impact, if this roster belonged to a franchise like, let's say, the Orlando Magic, and the core of this team was built up gradually over years rather than them all being traded for each other in one offseason, then this title would be on the same level of like the Raptors championship or the Warriors in 2015. It's on that tier. It wouldn't have been as big of a deal if it hadn't had had the factors of it being the Celtics and it being a formed super team. And then if we can talk about what happened after the fact, 2009 was a wash because of Garnett's injury, no criticism there. They had no chance without arguably their best player, but in 2010, a year later, when they faced the LA Lakers with proper chemistry, suddenly they lose. The excuse people like to give them there is that the Celtics were older, but the thing is, one, it's not like this was some old man Logan shit. Paul Pierce was 32, KG was 33, and Ray Allen was 34. Now they weren't young, that's for damn sure, but it wasn't like they were the half-dead Spurs. Also, Paul Pierce and Ray Allen really didn't have games that relied on athleticism at all in Boston. Pierce has never had any muscle definition in his life. Can relate. And Ray Allen was not the athletic beast he was in years prior ever in Boston. And if you look at the stats, the only guy who had a noticeable decline was Kevin Garnett, but even then that decline was not that significant. And I believe that that marginal decline was well overshadowed by how much better Rajon Rondo was. Rondo was just a sophomore for that 08 title, but now he was a first-time All-Star averaging 14 points and 10 assists, leading the league in steals with 2.3 a game, which led to him making an all-defensive first team that year. So I'd say that this Celtics team, if anything, was improved. By the way, a quick side note for that thumbnail, I would say that I don't really know if I think Rajon Rondo is a Hall of Famer, but I asked people on Twitter, and a majority said that he is a future Hall of Famer, so that's why I said 4, not 3 in the thumbnail. Anyways, that Celtics team faced a more in tune Lakers team and they failed. See, people talk about how the 08 Celtics underachieved. I beg to differ. They looked like a team that was built to win 1 or 2 and maybe 3 championships. They realistically were a 1 to 2 title team and they got 1. And that should be okay. But the guys on this team insist on talking shit like they were a dynasty and it really gets on my nerves. I would like to contrast this with another team that won just 1 title in the 2000s, and that was the 04 Pistons. I'm of the opinion that that 04 Pistons team was not only better than the 08 Celtics, but more importantly, their championship was more impressive. And yet, you don't see former players from that team going on TV and talking shit. Chauncey Billups is a TV personality now, but you don't see him doing shit like what Kevin Garnett does. Rasheed Wallace was a crazy shit talker, never seen him non-stop bragging about that title. Neither have Ben Wallace or Rip Hamilton. This team beat a prime Kobe and Shaq in the finals without a single fucking all-star. If any team deserves a right to talk shit, it's this team, and yet they're very humble about it. And more importantly, they do this one simple thing where they just shut the hell up. We should stop reflecting on this 08 Celtics team so much and reflect more on that 04 Pistons squad, because I think what they did is more impressive, and if it was the Celtics that did that, they would be talking about it all the time. But because it's the Detroit Pistons, no one cares. It really is that simple. The 08 Celtics were a good team, and that's fine, but the players on that team need to stop acting like they were God's gift to basketball and just do what the Pistons do and shut the hell up. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.